Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. Today's guest is someone who took one of the oldest forms of communication in human history and turned it into a patented robotics and software platform. Rick Elmore is a former NFL athlete turned founder and CEO of Simply Noted, the world's leading handwritten mail automation company. No technical background, no outside funding, 9 patents, over 220 custom-built robots, and more than $10 million in bootstrapped revenue. He's appeared on over 150 podcasts, been featured in 1,200 publications, and built a category that most people didn't even realize existed. That's automated handwritten outreach at scale. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Reed. That was great. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. I tried to do a little legwork and you sent some great info over previous. And so I'm just really excited. This is so unique. So, first of all, your background, you've been in the NFL, but now you've jumped to robotics and SaaS. That's not exactly like the go-to path that I think most of us envision. What triggered that shift? How did you make that journey?
Great question. Well, yeah, it's the most unconventional path I think I ever saw myself going down. But yeah, quick story or quick background. Yeah, I played football for a very long time. I had like a childhood trauma. My father passed away when I was 7, and my mom did such a phenomenal job, and I appreciate and love her so much. And she kept us busy. She kept us in sports. And I think sports are a phenomenal instrument or tool for young children to develop so many interpersonal skills that will last them their entire life, they'll take through high school, college, into their professional careers. But yeah, I fell in love with football early on. I was a quiet, angry kid, and I got to play a sport that I got to hit people and not get in trouble. So I fell in love with it. And I'm a big kid too. I was a big kid. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5", turned 50 pounds. But yeah, I played football since I was 8 years old. Kind of struggled the first few years. I was getting beat up. I had to play with older kids, but kind of came into my own around 12 years old. Had a good high school career. I set like a California record, and I had no clue that was even a record when I was a sophomore for quarterback sacks. And it caused me to kind of get some attention. So I got a scholarship to play at the University of Arizona. And I come from like a humble, my family did a great job, but we didn't have any money. But they gave us everything that money can't buy, the support, the love, the safety of a loving home, I guess. But I knew if I was going to do something in my life, I was going to have to do it, like carve my own path, if that makes sense. So football was that vehicle, and went to college, had a good career. I played for Mike Stoops at the University of Arizona. I was a 3-year starter at defensive end in the Pac-10. My junior and senior year, had a really good couple of years. I led the Pac-10 in multiple stat categories, and that was quarterback sacks and like tackles for loss. And for any non-football people out there, it's like one of the best stats you can get for defense is like a quarterback sack. So, and I'm not like a physical specimen. You look at these athletes nowadays, like some of them look like they're not from this world. They literally look like they were born to be an athlete, and that just wasn't me. I lived and died by effort. But if you look at my draft profile, it literally says like plays above his potential, wins with effort, constantly, just tries hard. And like when I saw that at 23 years old, I had such a chip on my shoulder. I was just like, oh, they don't think I'm good. They think it's just like luck, but I look back now at 38, I'm like, that was actually a pretty good compliment, because most people don't try hard. They're kind of lazy. But I had a good career and got to play in the NFL for a few years and live out my childhood dream. But I did not have like the lifestyle of the rich and famous, which most people think. I actually made more money my first 3 years of being a corporate salesperson than I did in the NFL. A lot of people don't know this, but the NFL is the only professional sport, at least back then, where your contracts weren't guaranteed. You only made the money that was up until that day. So if you signed a contract on day one and then were cut 2 weeks later, you only made 2 weeks of your annual salary. And in the MLB and the NBA, it was all guaranteed. So, I was a journeyman, got to play on 6 teams. I was cut, picked up multiple times. But eventually, you have to hang up the cleats, and kind of ran into my like identity crisis. I was an athlete. I was going to do this for the rest of my life. I was going to have all this money and be able to do whatever I wanted. But unfortunately, thank God, looking back, I'm actually happy it didn't work out, because it caused me to evolve and become like Rick 2.0. I had to learn how to be something else than just an athlete. And what I did is I just took everything that made me successful as an athlete, all those things I thought were bad, work hard, try hard, play outside my potential, and just applied that to my corporate career. I was a top 1% sales rep or top 5 sales rep in the company for 5 years straight. I didn't like where my career was going. I saw like, I was going to have to work middle management. I was going to have to travel all the time. My managers are always at bars. That career path just didn't suit like who I was as a person, like my character, my beliefs. I didn't want that to be what I needed to do to be successful. So I went back to my MBA, and this was a major pivotal time in my life, because school scared me. School in my undergrad, I really struggled because is this a video podcast or just an audio?
It is a video podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. You're coming through clear, by the way. So yeah, you look great.
Who said this? He always said that school's number 1, football's number 2. And I always laughed at that. He was like, well, if you're on scholarship, you're here to play football. So like, do what you need to do to get by. But which is sad, but that's just like how competitive college athletics works. But that's how I treated it. But when I went back and did my MBA, I was going back for a different reason. I was going to, for self exploration. I wanted to learn something. I wanted to grow. I was interested in business. I wanted to see if I could start a business someday. And I absolutely fell in love with learning. And I realized at that point was, undergrad and high school, I was just being told to memorize something for a test. And when I was going back to learn something that I can apply to something I was interested in, absolute game changer. And it changed my life. And I was about a year into my program, and I had a marketing professor talking about all the success rates in marketing, going through email, cold calling, direct mail, knocking doors, and everything was so like nominal, so low, 8%, 6%, 2%, 1%. And he ends this 3.5 hour long lecture. And he says, hey guys, this is like at 10 o'clock at night. We had to go to school from like 2 p.m. until like 10:30, 3.5 hour long classes with like a break in the middle. And he says, hey guys, and we're all tired. And he says, don't forget, what works better now, if not better than ever, is a good old fashioned handwritten note. They're rare. They get opened 99% of the time. Mailboxes are empty. This was before AI. Like, we're living in digital world, the software world. Everyone's on the internet, and no one's looking in the inbox. Handwritten notes are still like nostalgic. People appreciate them, and no one does them anymore. And I was like, man, that is like such a no-brainer. But like, who has the time? Like, who has the time to do this? I mean, time is one of your most valuable assets, right? And I was like, but wait a second. Like, if there's a way to like scale this or automate it for a business, there has to be something there. So I was like, I had my computer in class. I started like Googling like handwritten note company. And there was a company doing it for weddings. I was like, what a terrible industry. Like, they're one-time clients. It's hurry up and wait. Budgets are always a nightmare. They're not large enough orders. Like, why isn't anybody doing this for business? So I found a pen plotter in China, football player, sales marketing guy. I got this pen plotter that required me to build it myself, figure out how to use software, figure out how to use plugins, Inkscape, Python, write some code. This is before AI, no help. And it took me about a month and a half of just Googling, asking friends, hey, I don't know what Python is. Like, do you know somebody who knows Python? Like, hey, this is what I'm wanting to do. It uses Inkscape, and I need to be able to have this machine write a note. And I found somebody who helped me. We put together this machine, and over about a month, I had this machine write 500 handwritten notes, and they were terrible. They looked terrible, but they were written in pen. And I ended up sending them out to some potential prospects in my corporate career, and the response rate was just absolutely like mind-numbingly nuts. Like, these doctors were calling me. They're like, hey, Rick, thanks for the notes. Like, this is cool. No one does this anymore. Like, hey, let's grab lunch. Or, hey, like, this offer sounds good. I was obviously pitching them. I was a sales guy. But my quota at the time was $50,000 a month. And I ended up selling like $300,000 in like 6 weeks. And my whole company like went nuts. And like every time I got a call, just like the fire just got bigger and bigger. And anybody who's started a business understands this term called the entrepreneurial seizure, where the idea just becomes so like overwhelming, like you just can't stop obsessing about it. Like, this is it, this is going to work. So my corporate career went on autopilot. I kind of did like a slow transition for 6 months. But yeah, past that, we started on a $10,000, 0% interest credit card. Our technology that we use now is completely custom built. I went through 14 phase zeros with 14 different engineering companies. We build software. We have 9 patents on our technology. From my best of my knowledge, because this is a weird small niche, we're the largest provider of this in the entire world. I think I mentioned we've had patents, more than $10 million in revenue, multi 7-figure a year business. And it's the only reason we're here is because the just like not taking no for an answer, not letting any problem like stop. And I feel like, what I've developed over the last 8 years is like a PhD in problem solving. If you can solve enough problems and you can keep moving forward, you'll be shocked and so proud of what you can build over 8 years, if that, to say the least.
Sure. Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me a little bit about, what kinds of businesses work well with this? Like, are there specific industries that do well? It sounds like you were initially working with, in the medical field with doctors. Where have you seen some success or the most interest in the handwritten notes?
Sure. Well, I think it's great in any service-based relationship-driven sell, which, if you think about it, every business has a client. If a client doesn't pay an invoice, you don't get a paycheck, you can't pay your bills. Right. So any business can use this. And the 2 best use cases that we've seen are for CX. So like client relationships, building relationships, thank you cards, holiday cards, birthday cards, really just to kind of like stay top of mind in a personal way versus like automating an email, right? Because everybody, if you think about it, is inundated digitally. Ads are a nightmare. If you think of, go to your socials, like you're seeing 2 ads for every like 6 posts. So it's like 30 to 40% of what you're seeing online. They may make it look like it's user generated and not like an ad, but it's an ad. It'll say sponsored or it'll say ad. Emails are automated. Phones are blown up by spam. We're getting tons of text messages. The phone used to be the really fun, cool place to compete, 15, 20 years ago. But what people are not doing now is ignoring the mailbox. Like you go to your mailbox now, it's completely empty. If you think about the 90s, the mailbox was completely full. I mean, you'd go to your mailbox and be like bursting out of all this marketing, all these newspapers, postcards, and people have just done a seismic shift digitally because it's just where the world's gone. And with AI, it's getting even worse. It's just causing everything exponentially to grow. So yeah, the first use case is really for like building relationships, but for starting new relationships, direct mail, because the open rate's so high, a handwritten envelope has a 99% open rate. And that's proven over like Harvard Business School study reviews. Like go and just Google it. I mean, it's been proven over and over again. So yeah, I would say the 2 best use cases are building relationships and for like direct mail for just like client acquisition. But yeah, any service based, so like home service or even like e-commerce or political, nonprofit, real estate. I mean, every business can, leverage this tool, and any business owner has a tool belt full of a bunch of tools. So it doesn't matter if it's SEO or ads or trade shows, like direct mail is just another tool you should be using that would help you like make sure that boat or your business continues to go down that path in a sustainable, reliable, predictable way.
Mm-hmm. And, another interesting aspect of your business is that, we're inundated with AI. AI is appearing in all the softwares, but we know that coming down the pipe that we're going to see more robotics, like things doing services, like replacing service labor. And so, but you're there, you've got a robot fleet. How big is your robot fleet? Like, what does that look like? Do you have a warehouse full of them? How does that?
Yeah, we're in a 12,000 square foot space.
Okay.
And, we still have like a lot of humans in the loop. So we like our operations team are still humans, our sales and customer service, even though AI is going to come and kind of like help scale those things. I'm really like all in on AI. We're already leveraging AI agents in our business, but our robots do all the production. If you think of like what Henry Ford did for like the T100, whatever it was, the first vehicle, that's what we've done for handwritten mail. It's completely automated from inception of orders. So as the order comes in, we don't touch it. Robots do everything. So from how it gets imported, to how it gets sent to a printer, to how it gets cut and scored, to how it gets written, quality controlled, stuffed, a stamp put on. Robots do all that work. And it does it better, more predictable, in a cadence, reliable, on time, infinitely scalable, infinitely customizable. It's a weird product because it's like a new product, new service, new technology, new pricing models. The lift to get anybody on board is tough because we're completely educating them on a completely new product. But yeah, I don't want to compare myself to what Henry Ford did, but essentially what he did, we did for handwritten mail.
That's really cool. What is like an entry point? So maybe to help me visualize what size of company or size of campaign would, like, do you have minimums that make sense to train a robot on?
Yeah, great question. So use our system and send one at a time. We have real estate agents who will just send off like one at a time.
Okay.
But, for like acquisition, direct mail is all about volume. So, the more you send, the more you respond. But what's different about our direct mail, it just gets open 300% more than print direct mail. So if you think about a postcard, your normal open rates are like 20 to 30%. Think of a handwritten envelope has a 99% open rate. So if you send a postcard, 60 to 70% of your budget, if not more, just gets put right in the trash. So you might as well just like take $70 for every $100 and just burn it because it's not doing anything. So we're taking your budget, making sure that your message is getting open. We're like the vehicle. We get you there. We get you in front of them. It's still your message, your call to action, whatever, your copy that has to convert. But we're just giving you a better vehicle to convert, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's literally like it's not, because I've seen like the versions of envelopes or mailers that have what is clearly printed handwriting style font, but this is literally written like, okay.
Yeah.
So here's like smudges and
yeah, so real pen written, sender, recipient address. We use a real forever stamp. We track. This is a barcode the post office would print on it, but we track to the mailbox. So like when a letter gets delivered, that's another innovation that we've done, is tracking a handwritten envelope to a mailbox. Like think about that. It's sent with the first class forever stamp. It doesn't have a tracking number, but we have worked with the post office. We spray these barcodes on here in-house instead of them scanning it so we can track it. So there's just been so much innovation. We've made handwritten notes as trackable as email. So think about like sending an email. Like if they click a link in an email, that's trackable, right? For handwritten notes, if they scan the QR code, we see who scanned the QR code, and then you can automate a workflow to enroll them in a sequence or have a sales rep call or update the CRM, whatever. All that's trackable and triggerable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So, you have such an inspirational story. And I think one aspect of it that is particularly interesting is that you came from a non-engineering, non-technical background to be a founder of a company, successful venture that required a lot of engineering, and I'm sure you have accrued a lot of technical know-how. What would you say to somebody that was in your position at day zero and maybe looking to do something innovative? What would you tell them?
Get started and ask a lot of questions. The only reason I've been able to do this is because I've not taking like failure's not an option. There's a solution to every problem. You just got to find the right person to solve the problem. I'm not a software developer. I just went through enough software developers to find the one that can help us. I'm not an engineer. Okay. So again, being completely bootstrapped, like just getting started, I didn't have the budget to do $1 million engineering project. So what we did is we went to the University of Arizona Engineering School and said, hey, like I'm an Arizona grad. This is my business. This is what I'm trying to do. Is there anything that you guys can help me with? And they're like, well, actually, we do like a senior project every year where the students have to like try to build an engineering project. This would be perfect. So I donated $10,000 and I went through a year-long project with the engineering students. And that was like my floor ground zero just to get started. And they gave me all this data. I didn't even know like those are the questions I had to start asking. Sure. But the deliverable, can you grab it one second? They gave me this book, and we worked with them every Thursday for a year, and they gave me this book with all this data, data. And I took this to engineering companies. I was like, hey, like they didn't do a good enough job. Like they got us started, but this is our product. This is the problem we're trying to solve. And I went through 14 phase zeros with 14 different engineering companies. And what I would do is I would go through one, I'd wait for them to give me their proposal. I would remove their logo, remove their price, and take their proposal and take it to the next engineering firm and say, hey guys, like, I think this could be better. This isn't like good enough. Can you guys do a better job? And measure 14 times, cut once, right? You don't have the budget. So when you do pull that trigger, it better be the right trigger to pull. So after 14 times of doing this, we had a really good idea. All right. What it's going to take, what it looks like. And then we just went to the one that we wanted to work with and said, hey, we really like you guys. We want to work with you guys, but these people have quoted it better. So we were able to get a better price with all this data before we made the commitment to move forward. And that was just the genesis. And then it took 3 years, after building everything, we're millions of dollars into it at this time, all customer funded. So I focused on sales and marketing. I let smarter, more capable people solve the engineering problem. But it just took constant asking, constant searching, constant managing. It's like project managing. But if anything, after running a business for 8 years, actually, a business like this, I feel like I have like a PhD in problem solving. And problem solving is just talking to the right people or talking to enough people until you find the right people, if that makes sense.
Well, Rick, if people would like to use your product, use your service, where can they find you? Where are the best places to reach you?
Sure. Yeah. So Simply Noted, you go look for Handwritten Notes on Google. We'll be one of the top people there. Or just go to simplynoted.com. Or just go to LinkedIn. That's like my only social platform that I really like engage on. So if you reach out to me there, I'll do my best to respond. But if you request a sample, we send you a really nice like demo kit for free. So we'll send like a big folio. Nice. And I think that's a really good place to start. But most businesses, when they come to us, they have like a project in mind, like, hey, this is what we want to do. And we're happy to help with custom projects as well.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming, Rick. It's been very informative, but also very inspirational. I think this is, when you tell your story, I think a lot of us can see, there's something exciting in the future, and, that technical hurdles can be overcome. I'd love to hear your story. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Reed. It's great to be here.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.